This program is supported by Protect Plus Gold, a broad-spectrum disinfectant, kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching Eagle News International.
And I'm CJ Hero. Welcome to the program. On tonight's headlines.
Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurs, Joey Concepcion, said businesses are supporting calls for a fresh round of brief lockdowns to curb the Delta variant infections.
People vaccinated against COVID-19 in high-risk parts of the United States should resume wearing masks indoors, the top health authority said, a major reversal in guidance that underscored the country's struggle to suppress the Delta variant.
Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin says that Beijing's expansive claims in the South China Sea have no basis in international law, taking aim at China's growing assertiveness in the hotly contested waters.
Providing a stepping stone for many
and
individuals
INC's aid to humanity in different parts of the globe as the Church of Christ celebrates its 107th anniversary.
Here in Canada, how they have spent this past year helping.
First, here in the Philippines, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion said businesses are now supporting calls for a fresh round of brief lockdowns to curb the Delta variant infections. Earlier, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon advised Filipinos to take the Delta variant seriously and to get your vaccines. To date, the Department of Health said there are still 16 active Delta variant cases in the Philippines out of the total 119. Of the 119 carriers, 29 were unvaccinated, 6 were fully vaccinated, 7 received 1 dose, and the 77 others were still being verified. Per a PhilStar report, Concepcion proposed that only the unvaccinated population should be put into lockdown as of the moment, and that is barely 7% of the country's population that has been vaccinated. George Barcelon, the chair of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Henry Lim Bon Leong, president of the Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, also echoed the call for a 2-week lockdown with ample time given for companies to prepare. Ranjit Rai, a professor attached to Okta Research, had recommended circuit breaker lockdowns for Metro Manila after a surge in COVID cases was observed. However, the Department of Health disagrees with Okta that the recent rise in detected infections is considered a surge.
Now, as the country anticipates a surge in COVID-19 cases due to the more infectious Delta variant, the capital city of Manila is gearing up for a possible lockdown. Of the 25 Delta cases in the national capital region confirmed by the Department of Health, 10 are from Manila. Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso and Vice Mayor Hani Lacuna Pangan held an emergency meeting with the city's health officials and discussed their action plans. Domagoso also ordered the Manila Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Office, Manila Barangay Bureau, and the Manila Police Department to be on alert in case the city implements granular lockdowns. Coordination was likewise made with the directors of the city's 6 district hospitals, Manila COVID-19 Field Hospital, and the Manila Health Department.
Meanwhile, Malacanang today expressed appreciation over Vice President Maria Leni Robredo's efforts to help the government in containing the coronavirus disease. Now, this after the Vice President, during her Ulat sa Bayan address, touted her office's initiatives to fight COVID-19. In a press statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the palace never disregarded the Vice President's determination to provide assistance to the Filipino people amid the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic. Secretary Roque said, "We welcome the initiatives of the Vice President in the fight against COVID-19, which she enumerated in her Ulat sa Bayan, and we are in no way diminishing her efforts in this trying time," he said. In her Ulat sa Bayan address delivered on Tuesday, the Vice President announced her office's success in helping the frontliners and the Filipino people amid the pandemic, despite having a measly budget. Vice President Robredo said her office has been able to provide frontliners with free shuttle services and temporary shelters, personal protective equipment, medical supplies, and food and care packages.
Now, people vaccinated against COVID-19 in high-risk parts of the United States should resume wearing masks indoors, the top health authority said, a major reversal in guidance that underscored the country's struggle to suppress the Delta variant. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Rochelle Walensky cited new data that shows rare breakthrough cases involving Delta have an increased risk of onward transmission. According to the latest CDC data, 63% of the country's more than 3,200 counties are experiencing substantial or high transmission. Substantial is defined as being between 50 and 100 daily cases per 100,000 people over 7 days, while high is defined as more than 100 daily cases per 100,000 over 7 days. Biden said he would lay out new steps on Thursday to overcome the lag in vaccinations after the country's strong start to its program. President Joe Biden said the announcement showed that America needs to do better on vaccinations, adding that a vaccine mandate for the country's more than 2 million federal workers was now under consideration. Take a look.
Are you concerned that the CDC's new mask guidance could sow confusion?
We have a pandemic because of the unvaccinated, and there's sowing enormous confusion. And the more we learn about this virus and the Delta variation, the more we have to be worried and concerned. And there's only one thing we know for sure. If those other 100 million people got vaccinated, we'd be in a very different world.
In Australia, millions of Sydney residents will spend another month in lockdown, according to authorities announcing this today, citing a still fast-growing coronavirus outbreak and stubbornly low vaccination rates. Australia's biggest city had been due to exit 5 weeks of lockdown on July 30. But the restrictions will now remain in place until August 28 as case numbers continued to climb. Take a look.
It was fairly obvious the way the numbers were going in the last few days that it would have not been possible for us to come out of lockdown tomorrow or Friday. And given also the health advice about where the situation is, it would have also not been realistic for the New South Wales government to make a decision about the next 2 weeks, given where we are today. For that reason, I will be announcing now that New South Wales will be, or Greater Sydney, will be in lockdown for a further 4 weeks till the 28th of August. We don't want anyone to go shopping outside of their local government area or more than 10 kilometres away. We are seeing people travelling those longer distances to do what's critical shopping, but we know that workplaces and where people gather, including places of essential services or essential goods, is causing transmission. But we want to provide certainty to say in the next 4 weeks, children will continue to need to be homeschooled, except for Year 12. And our intention is that Year 12 face-to-face learning recommences in 2 weeks' time on Monday, the 16th of August. But I want to be clear that is based on the fact that within those 8 LGAs of concern, the New South Wales government will be vaccinating students 16 to 18 years of age who are in Year 12. So Year 12 students, because the Pfizer vaccine is allowed in young adults or young children or adolescents. So.
Now, officials announced 177 new cases linked to the Sydney outbreak, which began mid-June when a driver for an international flight crew contracted the virus. People living in hotspots have been urged not to leave their neighborhoods, but those living alone will be allowed to create a singles bubble with another person. In recent weeks, police have doled out fines to those violating the restrictions. Djokovic said police would step up compliance efforts while imploring Sydney-siders to report others breaking the rules.
Now, Melbourne residents awoke to the end of its fifth virus lockdown after beating the Delta variant for the second time in recent months. Johnny Sandish, who owns a cafe in central Melbourne, said his business was under major financial pressure and the first morning of the post-lockdown trade was quieter than expected. Take a look.
It's a ghost town. There's no customers around. So it is extremely difficult. I'm very upset, very upset. Of course I'm angry, yeah. We're losing a lot of money, Almost gone, almost gone broke,
Is it tough? Yes, but now it's a game of fortitude. It is really a fortitude thing. Trying to last as long as you can.
Definitely good. It's a good feeling being out of lockdown.
After almost 2 weeks under stay-at-home orders, millions in Melbourne and surrounding Victoria State exited their fifth lockdown just before midnight local time. The state had now seen off 2 Delta outbreaks in recent months, Victoria Premier Dan Andrews said. Schools, restaurants and shops can reopen, but restrictions, including mask wearing, remain. For at least 2 weeks, people cannot invite visitors into their homes and numbers at outdoor gatherings are limited. Australia was lauded for its early pandemic success after slamming shut its international borders and moving quickly to quash COVID-19 clusters. But with a largely unvaccinated population, it has struggled to respond to the highly contagious Delta variant, repeatedly sending cities into lockdown. Roughly 13% of Australians have been vaccinated, with low supplies of Pfizer-BioNTech shots and skepticism about the AstraZeneca jab.
And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Welcome back. Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin said that Beijing's expansive claims in the South China Sea have no basis in international law, taking aim at China's growing assertiveness in the hotly contested waters. Austin's broadside came at the start of his first trip to Southeast Asia as U.S. Defense Secretary, as he seeks to rally allies in the region as a bulwark to China. Speaking in Singapore, Austin criticized China's actions in the disputed sea, where Beijing has overlapping territorial claims with several Southeast Asian states. Take a look.
Beijing's claim to the vast majority of the South China Sea has no basis in international law. That assertion treads on the sovereignty of the states in the region. We continue to support the region's coastal states in upholding their rights under international law. And we remain committed to the treaty obligations that we have to Japan in the Senkaku Islands and to the Philippines in the South China Sea. Unfortunately, Beijing's unwillingness to resolve disputes peacefully and respect the rule of law isn't just occurring on the water. We've also seen aggression against India, destabilizing military activity and other forms of coercion against the people of Taiwan, and genocide and crimes against humanity against Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. We will not flinch when our interests are threatened, yet we do not seek confrontation. So let me be clear. As Secretary, I am committed to pursuing a constructive, stable relationship with China.
President Joe Biden's administration wants to reset relations with Asian countries and build alliances to face Beijing after the turbulence and unpredictability of the Donald Trump era. The U.S.-China relationship has deteriorated over a range of issues from cybersecurity and tech supremacy to human rights in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. After Singapore, Austin will visit Vietnam and the Philippines and will seek to underline that the U.S. is a stabilizing force in Southeast Asia, according to a senior defense official. A booming region home to more than 650 million people, Southeast Asia has become a key battleground for influence between the U.S. and China.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin decried the actions of Myanmar's military rulers on Tuesday and urged a regional bloc to keep demanding an end to the violence. Take a look.
And we applaud ASEAN for its efforts to end the tragic violence in Myanmar. The Myanmar military's refusal to respect the inalienable rights of the Burmese people and to defend their basic well-being is flatly unacceptable. A military exists to serve its people, not the other way around. And so we call on the Myanmar military to adhere to the ASEAN 5-point consensus and to forge a lasting peace.
The United States also on Friday renewed calls on Myanmar's junta to free a jailed U.S. journalist as concerns grow about a COVID-19 outbreak in prisons packed with detained activists. Danny Fenster, managing editor of the Frontier Myanmar news outlet, was taken into custody on May 24th after the military deposed the civilian government on charges under a law against dissent that carries up to 3 years in prison. Adding to concerns, COVID-19 has been sweeping through Myanmar's prisons as the military rounds up activists and opposition politicians. Nhan Win, a close confidant of detained civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi, died Tuesday after contracting COVID-19 in prison, according to authorities.
At least 6 Rohingya died and thousands have been relocated in refugee camps in Bangladesh's southeast after monsoon rains triggered landslides and flash floods in the hill settlements, according to officials. 5 Rohingya, including 3 children, were buried and killed after part of a hill crushed their bamboo and tarpaulin shanties in Balukali camp. Refugee Commissioner Shah Rezwan Hayat said another Rohingya child died after he drowned in a stream in the nearby Palongkali refugee camp, according to the official, adding that all streams in the camps were raging due to flash floods. Nearly 1 million Rohingya live in overcrowded camps in Bangladesh's southeastern district of Cox's Bazar, which borders Myanmar. Some 740,000 Rohingya fled their Rakhine State homes in August of 2017, escaping a brutal clampdown by Myanmar security forces. Thousands of these refugee families, especially those who live in the valleys within the 7,000-acre settlements, remain at high risk of landslides every year during the monsoon.
In other news, Indonesia's Mount Sinabung erupted today, spewing a massive column of smoke and ash into the sky. The eruption of the volcano in North Sumatra province lasted about 12 minutes, a local geological agency said. No evacuation orders were issued because the debris did not reach the nearest villages and there was no reported disruption to the flights in the area. But authorities have instructed people to avoid a 5-kilometer zone around the crater that has been left unoccupied for years as volcanic activity increased. Sinabung, a 2,460-meter volcano, was dormant for centuries before roaring back to life in 2010 when an eruption killed 2 people. It erupted again in 2013 and has remained highly active since.
To the U.S. now, attacked with their own weapons and left fearing for their lives. U.S. police officers describe their harrowing acts of violence from supporters of Donald Trump who stormed the U.S. Capitol on the first day of congressional hearings into the attack. Wiping away tears, a police officer explained how he believed this is how he was going to die while defending the Capitol on January 6. Take a look.
The physical violence we experienced was horrific and devastating. My fellow officers and I were punched, kicked, shoved, sprayed with chemical irritants, and even blinded with eye-damaging lasers by a violent mob, who apparently saw us, law enforcement officers, dedicated to ironically protecting them as U.S. citizens, as an impediment to their attempted insurrection. I, too, was being crushed by the rioters. I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die, defending this entrance.
The gripping account served as opening testimony in the landmark hearing of the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack, which opened with hair-raising videos of the deadly attack. Rioters, fueled by an aggressive Trump rally in Washington earlier that day, fought their way into the Capitol, hunted for the likes of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, chanted "Hang Mike Pence," and sought to block certification of Joe Biden's November presidential election victory. 5 people died during or shortly after the insurrection, while dozens of police were injured. 2 police officers who took part in defending the Capitol later died by suicide. Former President Trump has dismissed the probe as fake and highly partisan and attempted to blame House Speaker Pelosi for allegedly failing to protect the Capitol from his supporters, accusations echoed by his Republican backers. Pelosi and others had wanted a bipartisan independent 9/11 Commission-style panel to investigate the riot and its origins.
Eagle News will be back with more stories. Please don't go away.
Protect yourself and loved ones. Use Protect Plus Gold, a broad-spectrum disinfectant that kills 500 strains of bacteria, fungi, and viruses such as coronavirus and other disease-causing microorganisms. Also potent against viruses in pets. It kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes. Dissolve 1 teaspoon in 1 liter of water. Apply on areas for disinfection or use it for misting. Protect Plus Gold.
On behalf of the Embassy of the Philippines in Canada, I send our warmest greetings and felicitations to the Iglesia ni Cristo on the occasion of its 107th anniversary. They have continued to engage in much-needed initiatives to support and uplift the vulnerable and the disadvantaged around them. Indeed, in these trying times, every helping hand makes a difference in a person's life. Once again, my personal congratulations to Brother Eduardo V. Manalo and to the entire Iglesia ni Cristo.
Well, Welcome back to the news. The China-funded Estrella-Pantaleon Bridge here in the Philippines that is expected to decongest EDSA will be opened tomorrow. The Department of Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar announced through his Facebook page. The Pantaleon Estrella Bridge connecting Makati and Mandaluyong to open tomorrow, July 29, 8 p.m. #Build, build, build, he said on his Facebook post today. The motorists from Mandaluyong City will be able to reach the central business district of Makati within 5 minutes once the new bridge becomes open to the public. Villar said despite the challenges, the DPWH was able to deliver its commitment for the July opening of the 1.46 billion peso bridge constructed through a grant from the People's Republic of China.
And a recent INC Aid to Humanity was held in Thailand. Here's Gila Pablo joining us live to tell us all about it. Hello, Gila.
And the church administration of the Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, in cooperation with the Felix Y. Manalo or FYM Foundation, continues to extend their help through INC Giving Project here in Bangkok, Thailand. This project of Iglesia ni Cristo shows positive impact to the community and to share the faith of the church through acts of kindness to all individuals around the world. These project, INC Giving and acts of kindness, have been witnessed for numerous times and can also be seen in incmedia.org, the official website of INC Giving, and other projects they are continuously conducting in different parts of the world. In connection with their 107th founding anniversary, and to once again show great concern and love for their fellow men, the Iglesia ni Cristo held INC Giving to inspire and strengthen them during these hard situations. With hearts eager to help, the activity was led by the District Supervising Minister, Brother William Regalado, and the ministers of Iglesia ni Cristo here in Bangkok, Thailand. They have provided goodie bags to the recipients and families battling the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic, containing canned goods and bags of rice. The distributions was conducted by following the health protocols here in this country for the safety of everyone. These people who have reached by this act of kindness are very thankful and express their deepest gratitude to all the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo and their church administration. This is another inspiring story, Alma, of how the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ are always united in helping others. They are also inspired by their executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, that even little things and small acts of kindness can help someone's life significantly and can truly make a huge impact in the community. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much for your update, Gila. Very heartwarming indeed. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alma. Same to you. Reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, I'm Gila Pablo. We live in interesting times.
Unstoppable in its mission to help people around the world, the Iglesia ni Cristo continues its aid to humanity, this time in the Oceania region. Here's Morgan Goodfellow for the report.
COVID-19 has brought many unprecedented occurrences to date. It has tremendously impacted numerous individuals and organizations all over the world. Despite all these, the Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, here in Australia-Oceania was unstoppable in conducting various aid to humanity and INC giving projects to the community, lessening the hardship and burden that this pandemic has brought about. Renowned across the world for achieving COVID-0, the lift in restrictions allowed for both Australia and New Zealand to conduct face-to-face activities once again. Strongly motivated by their faith to do good to others whenever they possibly can, the Church of Christ members swiftly took this opportunity to hold various outreach programs, providing a stepping stone for many individuals as they return back to their pre-pandemic norms. The lift in restrictions last year allowed for church members to take part in several blood donation drives organised in Australia and New Zealand. Individuals from 18 above were enthusiastic to participate in a great cause, as activities such as these not only provide aid to the community, but also save many lives. Furthermore, in Australia, an outreach to student visa holders was held in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne through the Aid to Humanity program. This activity consisted of fun-filled activities to spread positivity during these uncertain times.
Yeah, it has affected us a lot, especially for us, since we're international students, we're far from home. And well, other than the financial struggle, there's also the emotional struggle as well, because my family is far from me, and like I kind of need that emotional support as well.
As well as providing care packages and financial assistance to the local government. The members also donated boxes of clothes to numerous non-profit and charity organisations, with the purpose of helping their fellow men cover their basic needs in these troubling times. Over to New Zealand, members of the Church of Christ also conducted various aid to humanity programs to celebrate the birthday of the church's executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Assistance was provided to the disadvantaged members of the community in Auckland, Invercargill, Christchurch, Wellington, Hutt Valley and Levin, where around 2,000 care package bags were distributed. In addition to this, financial assistance was also provided to the dignitaries' government officials, as well as political and community leaders to further support their constituents. These well-respected individuals expressed their gratitude and thanks to the Iglesia Cristo's unceasing efforts in providing aid to those who need it.
I'm Jenny Anderson, I'm the MP for Hutt South, and I'm just here really to acknowledge your kindness and the work that you've done. I know it's an important part of the work that you do to demonstrate care for others, and I think this is a fantastic example.
It was an incredibly generous organisation of the Church of Christ, and especially as a whole global organisation, and the goodwill of what the whole church does. And for us, it's incredible.
I would only express my gratitude and thanks for the Aid to Humanity project that the church has set up. I know that this happens throughout the world, and we are particularly fortunate that you have chosen to be.
A lot of vulnerable people that were actually discovered as a result of COVID lockdowns. We did not realise the vulnerability and poverty that exists in Auckland for a lot of families, especially those who lost the salaries of breadwinners and the struggle they go through. And this is absolutely amazing that the Church of Christ has acknowledged that there is poverty in Auckland.
Despite the negative outcomes this pandemic has brought to many, the Church of Christ here in Australia, Oceania, is seen to be unbreakable in their unity and love for doing good whenever they possibly can. It is truly inspiring to see the love and positivity the Church of Christ is extending in these trying times. Reporting from Townsville, Australia, this is Morgan Goodfellow, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Now to Canada now, where the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thanked the Iglesia Ni Cristo's Felix Y. Manalo Foundation for its continuing aid to humanity in Canada, saying its efforts play a valuable role in keeping Canadian families safe and healthy amid the pandemic. Ashley Sackmar takes a look back at the Church of Christ's aid to humanity efforts during this pandemic. Ashley?
The COVID-19 pandemic uncovered and exacerbated many social issues and problems here in Canada, one of which is hunger. According to Statistics Canada, 1 in 7 Canadians live in food insecurity. Today, we are looking back at the generous efforts of the Church of Christ, or the Iglesia Ni Cristo, together with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation here in Canada, how they have spent this past year helping out their neighbors, communities, and food banks across the country. Let's begin here, where we are, at the city of Toronto, as they reached out to North York Harvest Food Bank back in October. The Iglesia Ni Cristo members in the Greater Toronto area donated 600 boxes of food items and $5,000 in cash to the North York Harvest Food Bank, one of the largest food banks in Toronto and one that has become a regular recipient of food donations from the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation these last couple of years. Last October, the Church of Christ members in British Columbia generously sent 500 care packages containing canned goods and hygiene products along with hand sanitizers to the community of Suwali First Nations in Chilliwack, British Columbia. The Iglesia Ni Cristo members in Edmonton donated to 2 organizations last October, the Veterans Association Food Bank and the local Edmonton Food Bank. They gave a total of 300 boxes of food and a $2,000 check to these organizations. It's only halfway through the year, and the Iglesia ni Cristo members have continued to reach out to their communities and have donated food and care packages to those in need. Let's take a look. In April, 5 and 2 Kitchen, a soup kitchen and food bank here in Toronto, has written to the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation to seek their assistance in providing food support for marginalized communities in the city. And just this May, Maison du Père, a local food bank in Montreal, and the Filipino Association of Montreal and the Suburb Center, a community center for Filipinos in Quebec, received food donations from the Iglesia ni Cristo members in Montreal and Ottawa areas. These generous efforts did not go unnoticed by the Canadian government. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thanked the Iglesia ni Cristo's Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, saying its efforts play a valuable role in keeping Canadian families safe and healthy amid the COVID pandemic. As the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ and the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation have shown, the pandemic has never been and will never be a reason not to show one's generosity, charity, and love to those who are in need. In Toronto, Ashley Sakmar, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
314 Filipinos received relief packages from INC Aid to Humanity in Malaysia. Here's Ruby Tinawin for the report.
In commemoration of its 107th anniversary, members of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ from the Ecclesiastical District of Malaysia has once again gathered to hold an Aid to Humanity project with the Philippine Embassy here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on this very day of the church anniversary.
With the leadership of Brother Ronaldo Lising, District Supervising Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo here in Malaysia, a collaboration was initiated with the Philippine Embassy through the kind assistance of His Excellency Ambassador Charles Jose. Recipients of the welfare assistance was provided from the list of Filipino community who are severely affected by this pandemic, many of which have lost their jobs.
Ako po si TC Awa, bilang isang leader din po ng mga Pilipino dito sa Malaysia, mas lalo na sa mga caregiver. Itong na to, malaking tulong talaga to sa mga kababayan natin. Dahil alam naman natin ang caregiver yung trabaho nila on and off.
314 Filipinos in the Kuala Lumpur and Selangor areas, two major states in the country badly affected by continuous lockdowns due to its high number of COVID-19 cases, were considered as recipients of this humanitarian drive. Individually packed relief packages filled with several food items such as 5 kilos of rice, canned goods, noodles, biscuits, and other essentials were prepared prior to today's distribution. The Iglesia ni Cristo delegation, led by District Supervising Minister Brother Ronaldo Lising, together with some of the ministers of the gospel, went to the Philippine Embassy here in Kuala Lumpur, where they are warmly welcomed by Ambassador Charles Jose, DCM and Consul General Ann Luis, and Social Welfare Attaché Annie Mendoza. In consideration of the existing health and safety protocols to prevent further spread of COVID-19, the collection of the food relief packages only involved the Filipino community leaders, who will then distribute the packages directly to the recipients. Multiple distribution places were also identified to avoid mass gathering in compliance with the Malaysian government's SOPs on restriction of movement.
On behalf ng mga kababayan natin dito sa Malaysia, ako na mismo magpasalamat sa Iglesia ni Cristo sa kanilang food drive tulad nito, nagpapadala ng mga relief packages para sa mga kababayan natin dito sa Malaysia na talagang nangangailangan ng tulong sa panahon ito. So maraming salamat sa Iglesia ni Cristo sa inyong pagandahang loob sa pagtulong sa ating mga kababayan dito sa Malaysia. Maraming salamat.
The Iglesia ni Cristo will continue its outreach program to fulfill its pledge to help the communities in need all over the world, regardless of its religion, gender, or political affiliation. To all the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo all over the world, happy 107th anniversary. Reporting from EBC Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Ruby Tinawi. We live in interesting times.
We go now to the U.S. In Elizabeth, New Jersey, the mayor there declared July 27 as Iglesia ni Cristo Day in recognition and thanks for the dedication of its members of the Church of Christ in this part of the world. Here's Eleanor Aguilar for the report.
In celebration of the 107th anniversary of the Church of Christ around the world, this international organization has not only received greetings from government officials in different countries. In the city of Elizabeth, New Jersey, here in the United States, the mayor, Chris Bolwich, declared this day of July 27 as Iglesia ni Cristo Day. This is in recognition and thanks for the dedication of the members of the Church of Christ here in this part of the world.
So as mayor of the city of Elizabeth, I hereby proclaim July 27th as Iglesia ni Cristo Day in the city of Elizabeth.
The locality of the Church of Christ in the city of Elizabeth was established decades ago. As the fourth largest city in New Jersey, the city of Elizabeth has a population of over 125,000 people. Since Iglesia ni Cristo had a local congregation in the city, it has been an active partner of the local government in almost all social-civic activities launched by the city. Church members voluntarily take part in cleaning the environment, in helping the poor, even help unfortunate kids through INC giving and aid to humanity projects. The proclamation dedicating July 27 as Iglesia ni Cristo Day was a long time coming. For so many years, the local government and the Iglesia ni Cristo in this part of the world have shared goals and worked together in various social activities benefiting the community. For Eagle News, El Aguilar, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, El. And we'll be right back after this break.
Isang mainit na pagbati sa Iglesia ni Cristo, ang pagdiriwang ng inyong 107 anibersaryo. Sa mahigit ng isang siglo, ang INC ay naging inspirasyon sa maraming Pilipino upang magpatuloy na isang lumaganap at pag-ibig, kabutihan at malasakit sa kapwa-tao sa pamamagitan ng salita ng Diyos. Sa okasyong ito, manatili sana kayong tapat sa inyong misyon maglingkod sa ating pamamayan. Maligayang anibersaryo. Mabuhay kayong lahat.
Welcome back to the news. To sports now. U.S. superstar Simone Biles pulled out of second Tokyo Olympics gymnastics competition to protect her mental health today, raising serious doubt over her participation in the rest of the games. A day after her shock exit from the team event, USA Gymnastics said the 24-year-old had also withdrawn from the individual all-around competition at the Ariake Gymnastics Center. The U.S. Federation said a decision on whether Biles, who will be replaced by Jade Carey, would compete in individual event finals would be taken following daily evaluation. After pulling out of the team event on Tuesday, in which she won a silver as a result of starting the final, Biles said she had to do what's right for me and focus on my mental health. I just don't trust myself as much as I used to, and I don't know if it's age, she said. I'm a little bit more nervous when I do gymnastics. Support for the gymnast poured in from around the world following her withdrawal from the team final. Michelle Obama tweeted, "Am I good enough? Yes, I am. The mantra I practice daily." At Simone Biles, "We are proud of you and we are rooting for you. Congratulations on the silver medal, Team USA." Filipino boxing legend Manny Pacquiao, however, tweeted, "Once a champion, always a champion. God bless Simone Biles."
And Novak Djokovic will play Japan's Kei Nishikori in the quarterfinals of the Tokyo Olympics after the world number one breezed past Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in straight sets on Wednesday. Now, Djokovic continued his bid for a calendar Golden Slam by defeating the 34th ranked Spaniard 6-3, 6-1 to extend his winning run to 21 matches. The Serb, a bronze medalist in 2008, is trying to emulate Steffi Graf's 1988 feat of winning Olympic gold and all 4 Grand Slams in the same year.
Now, gold medal rival Daniil Medvedev struggled with the heat, even asking the chair umpire who would be responsible if he died. Medvedev stayed on course to meet Djokovic in the men's final as the Russian second seed overcame Italy's Fabio Fognini 6-2, 3-6, 6-2. But the two-time Grand Slam runner-up, who had urged organizers to delay start times after his opening match, again found the temperatures testing as the extreme weather policy was implemented. Following a 10-minute interval between the second and third sets, Medvedev broke Fognini and won the first 3 games of the decider. He saved 3 break points at 4-2 before clinching victory, going through a last 8 clash with Spain's Pablo Carreno Busta. Medvedev renewed calls to start matches later as temperatures peaked at 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, with the heat index topping out at 37 degrees Celsius.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the Senate and the House of Representatives filed resolutions congratulating and commending weightlifter Hidilyn for clinching the country's first ever Olympic gold medal in Tokyo. Take a look.
A true inspiration and motivation to our youth, especially in those in the far-flung areas where opportunities are elusive and hindered by poverty. So in the Senate, we continuously pushed for higher budget for our athletes to be lodged in the Philippine Sports Commission.
So, I'm getting a bit emotional because yan ang tinatawag talaga natin po, Mr. President, na puso. Matayo aking balahibo. Talagang puso. Sabi niya, nothing to lose. It's either I win or I lose, but I'll do it for God and country. And she grabbed that 127 kilogram weights, lifted up her head. Nakita po natin yung hirap sa mukha niya. Pero sumisigaw siya sa loob at inangat niya po itong barbells na ito para sa bansa. Napakalapad pa na kanyang stance. I was worried because with such a wide stance, it's very difficult to stand up. But she put all her might and all her power into that.
Ang ganitong dala ng pagkapanalo ni Hidilyn ay nagbigay ng liwanag at kislap na may maganda pang pag-asa tayong kinaharap. Tunay nga naman na walang imposible, Mr. President. Lahat ay posible kung may pinaghirapan, pinagtutuunan at pinagpaguran. With all the accolades, praises, and compliments given to Hidilyn, may isa na talaga namang tumulak sa aking isip at umantig sa aking puso. Ito ang larawan ng kanyang mga kamay na puno ng kalyo at sugat, hawak ang gintong medalya. Hidilyn's callous and hardened hands are her life story. The hard lines, the calluses, the scars tell the struggles she won and lost. The challenges she hurdled and overcome, the hard work she toiled and accomplish the tears she tried to hold but shed, and to all the dreams she once thought were impossible, but now realize.
Nais ko pong pagbigay alam po na ako po'y nandirito lang po, na nasa likod, handang tumulong sa tahimik na paraan. Bukas po ang aking opisina sa anumang tulong, financial o anumang assistance na aking pwedeng ibigay, even in my own personal capacity.
Resolution 1982, Philippine Olympics Committee President and House Deputy Speaker Abraham Tolentino said Diaz's victory in the 55-kilogram category in women's weightlifting at the Tokyo Olympics showed that Filipinos can excel at the highest level on the world stage. Deputy Speaker Eduardo Villanueva, meanwhile, also filed a still unnumbered resolution that congratulates, commends, and honors Diaz for bringing immense pride, honor, and joy to the nation for her historic performance in the Tokyo Olympics. Senator Pia Cayetano filed Senate Resolution 805 commending Diaz for bringing home the Philippines' first Olympic gold medal since it joined the quadrennial meet in 1924. In her Senate Resolution 798, Senator Riza Ontiveros lauded Diaz for rising above the challenges laid in her path to winning the elusive Olympic gold medal for the country.
Congratulations once again. She actually had her homecoming earlier today, and the Air Force promoted her from being a sergeant to staff sergeant. Congratulations, Hidilyn Diaz. You made us all proud.
Yes.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I am CJ Hero. We'll be back tomorrow. Please join us.
And we'll see you back tomorrow. At the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
This program is supported by Protect Plus Gold, a broad-spectrum disinfectant, kills 99.9% of disease-causing germs and works in 10 minutes.
Ng kaanib ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, ako ay taus-pusong bumabati sa inyong pagdiriwang ng ika-107 anibersaryo. Naway patuloy pang gabayan at patatagin ng Ama ang buong Iglesia, maging ang pamunuan sa pangunguna ng tagapamahalang pangkalahatan na si kapatid Eduardo V. Manalo sa gitna ng pandemya ating niraranasan. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang Iglesia ni Cristo.
Isang mainit na pagbati po sa pagdiriwang ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa okasyon ng kanilang ika-107 taong anibersaryo. Sa loob ng 107 taon, nakita natin ang iba't ibang uri ng pagsubok na sumalubong at nagpatatag sa pinagpalang kawan. Tunay nga na sa kabila ng mga hirap at mga pighati, lumalago ang pananampalataya ng Iglesia sa puso at kamalayan ng maraming Pilipino. Tiwala ako na mahigpit at matibay ninyong iingatan ang mga aral at patuloy ninyong paaalabin ang kasiglaang espiritual. Nananalig ako na ito ang magdadala ng walang patid na mga pagpapalang inyong matatanggap.
Mapagpalang pagbati sa inyong lahat sa mahigit 1 siglong paglilingkod sa kapwa at sa Panginoon. Hangad ko po ang patuloy na tagumpay ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa inyong pagpapalaganap ng mga salita ng Diyos. hindi lamang sa bansang Pilipinas, kundi maging sa buong mundo. Tunay nga po na ang Diyos ay nalulugod sa inyong matapat na paglilingkod. Ito po si Vicente Soto III, Pangulo ng Senado, na bumabati sa inyong ika-107 anibersaryo. Mabuhay po ang Iglesia ni Cristo.
Maligayang anibersaryo po sa lahat ng mga kapatid sa loob ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Ito po si kapatid na Gladys Reyes na bumabati po sa inyong lahat at nawa patuloy po tayong maging matatag. Patuloy po ang ating pagsampalataya na matatapos rin po ang lahat ng mga pagsubok na ito, lalo na nga po itong pandemya na to. At sana po ay patuloy tayong manalangin at huwag po tayong tumigil sa ating mga pagsamba sa ating Panginoong Diyos. Muli po, maligayang anibersaryo sa ating lahat.